Monday number 2, everybody. Earlier tonight, we had the professor and the pupil. Now I have an all-star cast. That's before the all-star game on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. I want to welcome J.D. Wyatt, the Southern Fried Gentleman, to the big baseball show. Now, I don't know how good my Southern accent is. Once upon a time, though, I did live in the Carolinas, and I used to go over to Cracker Barrel and buy some of those Southern books so I could try to blend in, but I wasn't very good at it because Yankee Doodle wasn't dandy in the Piedmont area. But we had a lot of fun working with the Gastonia Rangers back in 1987 when I was the director of public relations for a team that had Sammy Sosa on it. With that said, we do have a loaded show tonight. Shohei Ohtani's long-awaited return is tonight. Let's welcome the cast of characters we have. Eric Katz, who's a regular on the show. Glad to have you on, Eric. And Katie Ebley comes on from time to time, and tonight is her time to come on.
Great to be here. Love to talk some baseball talk with you guys.
And George Eichhorn been around with me for 4.5 decades and counting. Welcome back, George.
That's all. You've put up with me for a long time.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what? We'll keep you around. It's all right. There's a reason why I keep you around. You're loyal. Your family. Your brother. Even though I have to use a a lot of times it's you when you get out of line. But for the most part, it's okay. You know, we're working on building your social media up. All right, and Trent Clark, our resident baseball analyst. And just to let everybody know, I'm going out there working on some more baseball people to add to our group. Welcome back, Trent.
Always good to be here.
And last but not least, Southern Fried Gentleman, making a debut. What are your thoughts about being on the big baseball show?
Man, it's fantastic. You just gave me big news starting the show. So listen, y'all, make sure to hit like and subscribe on everybody that is on this show right now. We'll give you the links. You can see it by most of our name. Hit like and subscribe because this baseball talk, Scott, listen, I just wrote an article about how baseball is weird the other day for Greenville Sports Media. And so I am so excited. Baseball is my domain. And listen, I've got my notepad ready. I've got my crayons out. I can't wait to take notes with Eric and Trent and George and you and Candy this evening, man. Let's get into this baseball stuff.
Well, we're going to do exactly that. Kate Sisk, welcome back to the big show. Not only here to talk Braves because their season over, LOL. Okay. I don't know if we have a lot of Braves talk, but we're glad to have Kate Sisk in the big show. Glad to have Kate Sisk on there. Got to make sure. I have to ask you, Kane, if you want to collaborate with us on Twitter, let me know. I'll put you on that list. And then you can reshare the content. But meanwhile, we're glad to have you on here. And there's always an open opportunity to bring you on as a guest on any of our many, many shows that we're adding a couple more. Stay tuned for announcements forthcoming. All right, well, we have a lot to get to. So please stay with us. There is a lot to talk about. Since we're on the Shohei Ohtani kick, as our show talks about Shohei Ohtani's long-awaited return tonight, we're going to throw a little bit of trivia out there for you. And that's this. A catcher. Can anybody name the catcher who struck out Shohei Ohtani? There's one catcher that did.
Man, I know he played for the Oakland Athletics.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, that's okay. Never mind. He's a lot smart. He's a quick study. Yeah, no, the guy is actually Johnny Pareda of the Oakland A's. So there you go. Yeah. So, Eric, some thoughts about Johnny Pareda being a trivia question. All right, Southern Pride. Great comeback.
I mean, how often does a position player get to strike out Shohei Ohtani? It's probably never going to happen again, considering he crushes just about every other pitcher in baseball, including the very best the game has to offer.
Right. Candy?
It's rare that you see a catcher throwing to a pitcher in the first place. Like we saw it this weekend. We saw, wasn't it Jake Rogers was pitching for the Tigers? Because normally that means that they're not doing well, that you're throwing in a position player to pitch. But hey, whatever, Shohei is Shohei, and he's going to make his money whether he is batting or pitching.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, all right. Southern Pride, you went out there, tipped it. Know your thoughts about it.
Oh, well, no, like I literally just sent it in the chat. No, I wasn't trying to tip it. My bad. I thought it was trivia.
I'm kidding with you. It's okay.
I know, and I'm kidding back. I love it. Okay. I love it. Literally, I thought it was a trivia question. I didn't know. I didn't know it was cool. But this stuff though, with that being the player, like I love it when position players pitch. I was a position player that pitched, and the name of the show is 108 Stitches of the Baseball, and it seems to be that is the one constant is the baseball. The sport changes, the way you play it changes, and I love teams that are low paid like Detroit and things like that. I have a romance with baseball.
Okay. Great stuff. That's why you're on here. I love the passion of this guy. What do you guys are going to give him a thumbs up here if you want him on a future episode, but you'll have a full, this guy's going to be on every show anyways. They already got an overwhelming thumbs up on Inside the Pigskin. Now we'll just get the baseball report card later. That's all. All right, Trent, what are your thoughts about Shohei Ohtani being struck out by a catcher? By the way, I played the position and loved it. That's the only position defensively I could play well because my concentration was what it was. But Trent, some thoughts about?
Yeah, I mean, for me, every one of these athletes was a pitcher probably till they were a senior in high school, right? Like they were already the strongest, throw hard, fast, super powerful. Very few players were pigeonholed as like a shortstop only. They were also usually a pitcher or a closer or something in college and high school because they could throw hard. And so to get back on the bump after you probably specialized for 6 or 7 years and obviously the game's out of hand. You don't want to use your bullpen, so you throw in and it's usually volunteer. Like the manager's like, hey, anyone want to go in there and tote the rubber, and someone raises their hand, and it's a kick. And we've seen guys hurt their arms, by the way, doing this, like position guys. I think Jose Canseco hurt his arm. There's been people that have done it and it hasn't worked out well. They've gotten a little wiser to be like, hey, you're just going in there as a filler. You don't need to go in there and start throwing, cutters and breaking balls. Go in there and just get the outs. And so it's a lot of fun when you see that. I think the guy should just stop his pitching career clearly from there, and he's always going to be the guy who's like, I don't know if you know or not, but I struck out Shohei Ohtani. Like, come on, it's always going to be a claim to fame for him forever. It'd be awesome.
All right, George.
Well, yeah, it is a very good claim to fame. That's for darn sure. That's doesn't happen very often, as we know. And like you guys mentioned, just the other day in Detroit, they used Jake Rogers, the catcher, to pitch 1 inning. So it does happen. I'm not a big fan of it because it usually means the team you're following is playing horses, you know what. And they've got to bring somebody in there to close it out, and it happens too much in Motown. It has happened too much in the last 5-6 years with some bad teams. But anyways, hats off to the guy. What a great job to go down in history. Tell your kids and grandkids I struck out Ohtani. I love it.
I'll tell you, if I were him, I'd make sure I put that baseball in a little bit of a showcase because that's what he can do. I struck out Shohei.
There is a factor for that, right?
I'm pretty sure
there is
a autograph.
There's a what, JD?
There's a general rule, as George said. Like if a position guy's in the game, it's either an up 15 or down 15 situation, right? So it means you're down at least 2 touchdowns. So it's never good when you're seeing position people tote the rubber, right?
Yeah, the closest thing to a mercy rule is really what it is.
Yeah.
I don't have them, but that's the closest thing to go there to it. Well, a lot of topics to get to, but I had a feeling this one was going to hit some people. We'll talk about Shohei Ohtani, who does return to the mound tonight versus the San Diego Padres. Well, go ahead, JD, before we go on to the next topic.
No, that's Eric. Go ahead, Eric.
I'm pretty sure Ohtani actually autographed the ball, and he was a pretty good sport about it.
Was he really? Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah,
I do think that's accurate. And hey, I was raising my hand. Scott, I know sometimes you're the professor, so I just I'm just trying to be correct over here.
Right.
But I do have a question because we just mentioned the Shohei stuff, and I don't want to spoil anything that you wanted to get to later, but we might as well talk about now Shohei pitching.
Well, that's what we're going to do
for the first time.
Yeah, I know. That's our segue. So,
my bad. Like I said,
No, wait. No, let me give you some information how we do things here. I'm going to make you memorize these things for fire up. You know what GMTA stands for?
GMTA.
Yeah.
You've told me once before. Tell me again.
No, let's see if you have any retention. Then I'll give it to you. You'll be your quiz on Thursday night, by the way, in front of our group here.
I'll remember it Thursday, I promise.
Oh, no, you'll remember it now. I'm going to tell you. Great minds think alike. Put it in the chat. Use it as a tattoo. And yes, just so you know, Mr. Wyatt, we are going on to our next topic, which is exactly what you just mentioned. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, that's the same thing that Eichhorn likes to hit me with. Sir. Okay, well, now I'm doing it to him. All right, you can tell I'm fired up about tonight. We're just getting started tonight. Can you hang with us? I hope you can. All right. Speaking of what, since it was Wyatt gets the opportunity to mention it, he's going to go afterwards, okay? First, after me. Yeah, Shohei Ohtani does return to the hill tonight against the Padres. His pitching record, mind you, is 38-19 with a 3.01 ERA, 481.2 innings pitched, 608 Ks. I believe he's only going to pitch an inning, but nevertheless, he's going to be out there. And, you know, he's a gate attraction. So now that you mentioned that, J.D. Wyatt, just give me your basic thoughts, as you know we have a lot to work on, about his return to the mound.
I'm very anxious. I don't know if it started already to see what it will look like. He's had surgeries and everything. Sometimes these players come back, they're not the same. I think it's really weird that they're going to start him and only pitch him for one inning is mainly what we're hearing. If that's the case, just don't DH him that game and let's bring him out of the bullpen. Don't start the pitcher for, don't bring him back and start him. Like they didn't do that to Strider. The Braves didn't. So that to me is really weird regarding the Shohei thing.
All right, let me tell you this right now, and that's a good point. I really like what you just said. Nowadays, the way the game is so specialized, let's look at it like as an opener. Okay, but this is an opener from the first pitch with him, and we'll go from there. I'll turn the narrative over to Trent Clark. What are your thoughts about Shohei making his debut tonight? Go ahead, Trent.
I mean, for me, long time coming, right? I mean, anytime you have a Tommy John, it's a typical 15 to 19 months. It's a really long recovery. It's a very alarming injury. He's the dynamic of this guy being such a good hitter and a very solid pitcher until this injury is what he's kind of known best for, right? The one thing I love about Shohei Ohtani right now is he sits in a leadoff spot, and I'm trying to think of a lineup card ever that had leadoff pitcher Shohei Ohtani, because they're going to DH for someone else after, and they're going to move him into either the DH role or something like that. It's going to be interesting how they do the lineup if he's going to be hitting tonight. So I'll be watching that lineup card.
Okay. George?
Yeah, ticket prices are going through the roof. Fans are excited. Everybody's excited to see this performance, and I'm not totally unsurprised. I mean, that he's there. He obviously he's going to be in a very limited pitch count, and like you said, JD, that he's only going to go into one inning. So that's typical for this. Obviously, with a situation like this, is also unique is the fact that, as we know, rehabbing is done in your minor league facilities. You go down to Lakeland or you go to Toledo as far as Detroit is concerned. LA, they would go to the farm teams and work this guy out. But when your name is Ohtani, you don't do that, because obviously he was already in the middle of the season as far as a batter goes. So it's a totally different circumstance. But as we know, us baseball geeks, these guys always go down for their minor league, sometimes the last 2 to 3 weeks, even more than that even. So I'm looking forward to it tonight. He's a different breed. He's a different guy. He's a one-of-a-kind guy, and I'm looking forward to see what he can muster. And I tell you what, I'm with you, Trent. I mean, we don't know yet what he's going to face as far as strength of his arm, or if he can handle both pitching and DH duties like he did before. It'd be interesting.
And I think to your point, which is really good, that all these kids get rehab assignments against A-ball, AA kids, like, hey, go get your innings. This is where I'm surprised the Southern Gentleman's role is exactly right. That why wouldn't they bring him in on a relief role where he can face 7, 8, 9? Like, why you want to go out there and face 1, 2, 3? That's a bad deal at the beginning of the game, because that's where everybody's talent's at, right? So that surprises me a little bit, but obviously they're willing. He's probably going to be on a pretty limited pitch count. He hits 25, it's probably over. So we'll see how it goes.
That's an excellent point, Trent. It really, really is. 1, 2, 3 versus 7, 8, 9. But Dave Roberts has his way of trying to work what he's going to do, and I'll be curious to see how this one plays out. And when Candy and I get back, we're going to talk about it. Go ahead, JD.
You're on mute.
But I didn't take lip reading, so the mute button doesn't need to be on. Just kidding with you.
Mm-mm. No, I do that, Candy. I mute myself all the time. I always forget to take it off. That's why I can't stand doing it. I'm terrible at that.
I'm kidding with you.
Oh no, I'm good. No, it's funny. It's hilarious because I just tell Candy I'm preparing. But to continue on with the Shohei conversation, like to the 1 inning thing, Trent, Eric, George, y'all all said almost. George even mentioned going down and pitching it in minor league. Trent mentioned the 1 inning deal. I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement. Like, if you're going to start him, let's go with a pitch count over just saying 1 inning, or send him to the minors, or send him to the bullpen. But it just feels weird that they're doing this, right? To me.
Okay. You know what? I like what Kane says because he will be a high performing, but they have a hiccup or 2 throws again. There's no question about that, Kane. You're right. The guy hadn't pitched in a while, but if he has a hiccup, it's no big deal. The fact of the matter is he's able to go on the hill is good enough. All right, Candy, go ahead. Then we'll end it with Eric. We have a lot of things I'm going to get to as well, but I knew that we were leading off with these two, and they were going to definitely take up a fair amount of time early on. Go ahead, Ken.
So your comment about leading off is exactly what Shohei is doing. He is batting leadoff tonight, as well as pitching. Now, to your point where you guys thought, oh, maybe you should bring him in the 7th, 8th, 9th hit or whatever. No, he's a starter. You start him because then you can limit him. Because let's face it, you don't know what he's going to have. If you're going to throw him in the 7th, 8th, or 9th, you might be in a tie game and he's not going to have the same stuff. He just isn't. If any of you have watched or followed Sandy Alcantara from Miami, he had Tommy John surgery. He's back. He is not throwing the usual. He is out of sync. He doesn't have he has the same velocity. I don't think he has the same command. And I think part of that is Shohei hasn't pitched since August of 2023. That is a long time to not be pitching and facing batters. So I think go ahead, start him from right in the start. You can limit it. Yes, he's going against 1, 2, and 3. But remember, guys normally later on in the game are better because they're used to seeing pitchers and pitches and stuff like that. And the more you would see a guy the second and third time, which obviously he's not going to be in for long enough. But you start him in the beginning, then you know what you have in the beginning. You can make up the difference. You have the rest of the game. Whereas if you put him in the 7th or 8th and he's getting shelled, that's going to decrease his confidence. If that loses the game, that decreases confidence. And I mean, he's a superstar, so maybe it doesn't. But I think the mental aspect of it is, too, that they can probably overcome it if they do it quick in the beginning. My 2 cents.
All right, Eric, you have final word on it. Once again, we have a lot to get to.
I mean, you can't just make a guy from a starter to a reliever overnight. That's just not how those things work. It's either you're a starter or a reliever these days. I mean, the transition isn't easy because starter, you know what you're facing. Each inning is going to be clean. Regardless if you give up a run or not, each inning is clean. You know the situation. Reliever, that's a completely different animal because you could be coming out there and there's a mess on the field, and the inning's not always going to be clean. Plus, the routine as a compared to starter to reliever is different. Because starter, you're out there every 5 days. Reliever, you don't know when that phone's going to ring and they're going to call you. But I think the Dodgers are doing this because they need a little more Hollywood action over there, and they know the entire world's going to be watching when he goes out on the mound because everyone's been wanting it for the past 2 years. And as far as the 1 inning thing, I think it's kind of weird, to be truthful. I'd rather wait for him to be 100% before you throw him back out there instead of just having him messing with his routine as far as pitching is concerned. But you they need the cameras rolling, and everybody knows the cameras will be rolling when Ohtani takes the mound.
Right on. Hey,
Great
Scott.
point. Well,
I know you said you wanted to move on, but I got to respond because I feel like they're trying to paint me into a corner a little bit here. When I say that Shohei should get a relief appearance, I honestly think, like we've mentioned, like George mentioned, is he should get a minor league starting rehab assignment. And I know you don't want to send down your DH to minor league to get a pitching start, but again, starting one game for one inning is really weird. And obviously, if he's coming out of the bullpen, this is the main response to what y'all said. If he's coming out of the bullpen, no, they're not going to put him in a bases loaded, nobody out situation. And it's like, okay, for the Dodgers, we have Shohei Ohtani entering into the game with bases loaded and nobody out for his first pitching since August 23rd, 2023. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously, if they're up 3 runs, 8th inning, 7th inning, your starter gave you a good game, that's where a manager would use Shohei Ohtani.
okay, let me stop you right here. Okay. I like your points. I think they're well taken. All right, go ahead, Eric.
Hold on. You cannot just you cannot just make a starter into a reliever. It's not like you can just morph this guy into the Captain America and the Captain America pod. Let me finish, Southern. You cannot just morph this guy into Captain America's pod and all of a sudden he's a reliever. That's not how this works. You know, if you make him a reliever, you don't know when he's coming out there. The Dodgers could easily be in a close ball game. You think they're going to want to put him out there? No. And as far as a minor league rehab is concerned, that's the problem. That's kind of the problem with Ohtani is because he's also probably arguably the second best hitter in baseball behind Judge. But it's not going. You can't just send him down like that. Plus, if they even put him on a minor league rehab start, their minor league stadium would be a madhouse, and they'd have no idea what to do. You know, but so Ohtani's done the rehab wherever he's gone because there isn't like they don't say a lot about where he's gone to rehab. But no, you can't just make him. It would mess. You cannot just blend that routine. It is not as easy as it sounds and turning him from a starter into a reliever. That it just does not work like that.
All right, JD, before I let you back in here, I have one thing I want to say. Okay, and that's this. Number one, this guy, I told you Wyatt was pretty good, you know, but I just hope we can make it. I don't think these guys have 2 hours in them at the rate we're going. So we have to make sure at some point we draw the line. But I can't wear out my veterans here because I know we're having a whale of a time. But I'll tell you what, 99 out of 100 times, I say you do the minor league rehab. This is the exception to the rule, JD. You don't do it here. You just simply don't do it with this guy. He's the exception to the rule. Okay, you have one more comment on the topic, okay, JD, and then we do move on.
Perfectly fine. And Eric, so basically we pretty much agree everything you said, but the one thing that you took out of what I said isn't accurate. I never said make him a reliever. I never said turn him into a reliever. So I'm talking about his rehab, one rehab assignment. So
you're kind of, it's not going to happen.
Hey, JD.
I'm not saying me. I'm just saying that's my opinion.
All right. Well, your opinion, I hate to say this, you have a lot of good opinions. Fire Up is a great place for you to throw it out there, and it doesn't matter. On this show, that opinion's okay. I don't mind it coming from you. I'm just not so sure you have you have a little bit of support on that one. No disrespect, JD Wyatt, really none. But you're in with the big boys here tonight, man. These are baseball bangers. What these guys are. But you'll get used to it as you come on. Let me tell you, Eric. Let me give you a little information about Eric Katz. Okay, he's waiting for you to say something like this because he will eat you up like a great white shark if you say something like this that he doesn't like. But you're okay. This is your first rodeo with us. We love having you. But Eric, there's a reason why he's on this thing. There's a reason why he has his own segment called Eric's Rant. Don't worry, you'll find out later. But it's okay, JD. I love hearing what you got to say. And we're good. Nothing, no problem. But you're dealing with Mr. Katz here. And just wait till you know. And by the end of the show, you'll know what I mean. All right, let's move on a little bit. I'm just going to throw a couple of news items out there. another debut tonight. Giancarlo Stanton's debut is on tonight at 7 Eastern time. And Ohtani, we know, is 10 p.m. Eastern time. Real quick this time because we have a lot to get to. Your thoughts, Eric, about Giancarlo Stanton's debut tonight?
Well, I'm happy he's back. I know he had a single tonight, but I'm just happy he's back. Obviously, it's been kind of a long time coming from him. He had a very rough spring training, with the tennis elbows as well as the calf injury. So he really didn't have spring training, and it took him till he missed like the first almost 3 months of the season rehabbing, trying to get in shape. But happy he's back. And it gives the Yankees a good problem to have with their lineup when it comes to their designated hitter because Ben Rice is doing really well this year.
Candy.
He is 1 for 3 with a single and a strikeout. Giancarlo, he's had his time, but he needs to, he's a spark plug when he's on that can help ignite them. And then we'll see how Shohei does later on.
Okay. All right, JD. We talked about Giancarlo Stanton. Don't tell me he needs a rehab assignment or I'll shave off what's left of my hair. And there ain't a whole lot.
You already had
kidding.
one.
I'm kidding. Oh, did he? Okay. Well, then he got that one out of the way. Kidding with you, JD. You know that. I kid because I care. Go ahead. Giancarlo. You get the floor on this one, my friend.
Yeah, I'll be short and sweet. I'm loving seeing Stanton coming back. I missed him as a player. He's one of the ones that the major league needs. Mm-hmm. He's recognizable. I don't know if the term household name exists anymore. I mean, right. Aaron Judge maybe. But yeah, baseball isn't what it used to be. But I'm excited to see Stanton coming back. And to me, as a pitcher, I still think it's crazy that he had tendonitis in both elbows. Mm-hmm. Like that just struck me as weird that it hit him on both elbows, even his non-throwing elbow, and he's not even a pitcher. So I just think the injury, I'd really love to know, like if it's something hereditary or whatever that's going on. I just think it's weird. He had it in both elbows.
All right. Thanks, Matt Kraft. We appreciate you popping in for us. All right, Trent.
Yeah. I think Giancarlo Stanton is synonymous with the Yankees. I mean, he's a go-to guy for them. It's great to see him back in the Yankee uniform. I don't like when guys are out for any reason, especially things that I believe are preventable. And so when things happen, it's never good for players. It's never good for the league. It does give one thing. It gives an opportunity. Guys like Ben Rice are going to get their noticed, right? Now, all of a sudden, this guy came in, filled in very handsomely. His stock just went up like massively as a player. Because, listen, as a guy coming out of AAA, you'd rather fill in like the number 9, 10 guy, not the number 2, 3 guy, because those are big shoes to fill. So, I think Ben Rice did a good job of coming in and being Ben Rice and not trying to be like, oh, I got to be Giancarlo and replace and do all the things that he does. So I think hats off to Ben Rice. I think Stanton's a Yankee. It's synonymous with him. He's an absolute stud, and he works hard. So I'm a fan, and when I see the guys who are kind of the backbones of teams, I go to the ballpark to see those guys, and I think the fans, both on the road and at home, are going to be glad he's back in the lineup. He sells tickets.
George.
Well, guys and lady, let's look back at this guy's career. 2019, 18 games. 2020, 23 games. 21, not bad. 140, very good. 22, 110, 23, 101, and 24, 114. We've talked about him before on this show. Yes, he is a stud. Yes, he has missed a lot of games and has really, really missed a lot of baseball the last half dozen years. Also, his strikeouts. He has struck out so many times in the last 6 years. He's got to control that. And he also, his RBI count is okay and his home run okay when he's in the lineup. I'm not arguing about that. But the fact of the matter is that they need him. They need him healthy now. I'm glad he's back for the sake of the Yankee fans who want to see him back. Let's see how he can produce. But yes, he's got to cut down on the Ks, and he's got to be, more selective on those pitches when he's in the batter's box.
Okay.
Well, and the durability is a real issue. And now,
sure.
coming in today, we've already eliminated the fact that he's going to get 100 games because we're well past 62 already.
Right,
so,
right.
It's another year of him having a subpar games played stat, and that's going to ultimately catch up with him on contract time. Ultimately, going to catch up with him, and of course, that'll also bring up a steroid issue too, because guys with steroids tend to miss games.
All right, well, I can say about Giancarlo Stanton, I've seen this guy play actually at Lone Depot Park, and he's hit some bombs like you wouldn't believe. So nobody's going to question this guy's power. Let's continue on for sure. Glad that both of them are making their debut tonight. Let's talk about another college baseball note, and then I'm going to talk about a Japanese player. Then we're going to go to a station break. Gage Wood of Arkansas throws a no-hitter in the College World Series, the third no-hitter in men's College World Series history. And he does this during an elimination game. It's one thing to throw a no-hitter, but to do it in an elimination game, Southern Fried Gentleman, is pretty darn impressive, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I have dirty C words on Southern Fried Sports that players are lacking these days, or teams are lacking these days. Chemistry, culture, commitment, camaraderie. All of those are one of them, but clutch. Clutch is the biggest one. Man, oh man. Can you imagine the adrenaline? If it were me, like Scott, you said you were a catcher. I was a pitcher.
Oh, yeah. Well, good. We get along well.
Hey, me and you, College World Series right now. You just called me a no-hitter, Scott. Can you imagine? I mean, God.
Hey, JD, let me interrupt you for a minute.
I love. This is what I love about it.
Hey, JD, I'm going to tell you something right now. I'd be great at framing your pitches, brother, to make you even look better. And I used to get into the psychology with the umpires like you and believe. We'll use that as an off-camera conversation. But that's good. I like the fact you're a pitcher, I'm a catcher. Great stuff. Continue on. I just had to get that in there. Well, fresh off my caffeinated head. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. But, yeah, Arkansas, they have to battle back. LSU and UCLA, whoever wins that game, they're going to be in a prime position, just like Coastal Carolina. So, I'm tuned in to the College World Series.
Great
you
stuff.
You can ask any of my listeners. We're baseball junkies. We even watch the Braves, and they suck.
Yeah. I can tell that you're a baseball junkie when you're fitting in with your first act tonight. Great stuff, by the way. All right, Trent.
Yeah, I think, I love the C's JD mentioned, right? And I think college baseball really has that. I think they've done a great job of dialing those things in better at the college level than the pro level sometimes. And so, man, I mean, listen, this is a guy who steps up and I think JD does a great service of paying homage to the battery. Like, it's a big deal for the catcher. He's a big part of that, right? But man, this is someone just taking the ball in your hands and looking in his teammates' eyes and go, listen, boys, get on my back. I'm gonna get stuff done for you. And I love that, man. I mean, I love that. That's like that's what he did is the equivalent of going out and getting in a fight for you in hockey, right? Like, he's gonna fire everybody up, he's gonna shut everybody down, and like, hey, listen, I'm the baddest guy in town tonight, and we're gonna live another day. And man, that's a big deal. It gives your team a lot of confidence, man, when something like that happens. Couldn't have come at a better time for Arkansas.
No question about George.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great day for him and for Arkansas. Gage Wood, congratulations. First time in 60 years. 60 years. Imagine that. All the great pitchers that have come through the college ranks in all those years. And here he is standing right alongside. Only two other men have done it. Just incredible. Third no-hitter and a first in 60 years. I mean, it's just a remarkable thing. The Razorbacks obviously won the game 3-0. And that's no slouch team, Murray State. Let me tell you. I mean, they're not a school as some of these other ones out there, as we darn well know. Arkansas and Texas and USC and all these baseball, Arizona, all these baseball, college baseball powerhouses. Here's Murray State. But I'm telling you what, the kid deserves the accolades, and he's talk about firing up his team. You're darn right, Trent. He sure did.
Great reference, George, to Murray State, by the way. Here's
Thank
a
you.
team that's there for the first time. It really is. And I'll go ahead and do a little bit of homework on that, but I'm glad that you did bring up Murray State. Candy, go ahead.
So yes, George, this was the third no-hitter in College World Series. But what really makes Wood's performance, it included a record-breaking 19 strikeouts and only one base runner allowed who reached on a hit by pitch in the 8th inning.
Yeah.
One base runner, 19 strikeouts. That is unheard of. That's great. That's awesome. Good. Congratulations to him. What a great
and let me point this out, George, just to show what a great point you actually made. Murray State's coach, his name is Dan Skirka, says I wanted to earn it for his first time with them being in the College World Series. So George Eichhorn, you hit a bullseye on that one. So let me just talk about it again. Murray State's baseball coach, which is a Cinderella story in the College World Series, says his road to Omaha, he just wanted to earn it for the first time. So anything that can happen with the racers, to me, is just unbelievable stuff.
Yeah.
One last point. Gage Wood is the number 50 draft prospect right now.
Okay.
I think he's going to go up a few notches.
Yeah. Right now, that just went to number 5 right there. He just went from 50 to 5, just like that. And hey, you know what? I did want to jump in on Murray State. Like, by the way, you've seen these College World Series games. JD's following it close. These are some football scores in college baseball now. The aluminum and all that. Right. Hats off to Murray State. Listen, the 3-0 ball game is a good, well played ball game in the College World Series. These games are usually 10-9. 13-11. These are some big things. I always go back to my college days where we were all excited about averaging 8.5 runs a game. Our issue was that we gave up 10, right? So you can score all the runs in the world, but you can't play defense and pitch. You can't win. And so, man, Murray State holding a very good Arkansas baseball team to 3 runs, usually, probably 4 out of 5 times would likely get you a win, except they ran into Gage Wood, and that's an issue.
Great points. I'm glad you made that point on Murray State. Okay, JD, we'll go to Eric to round out this topic.
That's what I was going to ask. Eric, you go ahead and get your take in, and then I just had one other thing I was going to say, but if everybody hadn't got their stuff in yet, I'll wait. No, I'm good. Eric, go ahead. Let's hear it.
To do it against aluminum bats is actually pretty impressive because it's not because those things increase offenses. I've always had a problem with them at the college level because scouts aren't going to be looking at those stats. They're going to see what they're going to be using your what you do in the summer as the real numbers, because let's be honest, because those the wood bat leagues are what prepares you for the pros, not really the long grind of the college season, which I really wish they would move to wood bats. But it's it's impressive. Obviously, throw a no-hitter in the College World Series. I mean, there's been a lot of great pitchers to go through the College World Series who never did it. But the fact that he can that he's forever gonna have a place in the College World Series history is pretty neat.
Okay, all right, JD, you have the last word. Then we'll continue on.
All right, so I'm gonna be really quick. Eric, I really love that opinion mostly, but you tried to cook me up earlier, so now I present your first opportunity to get fried. If college baseball changed away from aluminum bats, it would just be minor league baseball. And that would take away from some of the love of college baseball, in my opinion.
Well, as far as love goes, I don't think anybody loves waking up at 3 or 5 in the morning to go work out. So you're not really changing a whole lot there. I mean, I can guarantee you everybody on that field, or most people on that field, want to go pro. They're not going to be scouting you really with the aluminum bats and looking at those stats. You swing wood at the minor league and the professional level. Those aluminum bats do nothing for you. You're probably seeing it now with some guys coming into who get drafted, who come to the minor leagues, and it's like they were a deer in the headlight in the middle of the road. The aluminum bats do nothing to prepare you.
Okay. And that's fair. hold on. Sorry, and I got one more, and I'm gonna finish up. But yeah, that's fair. But guess what? Every player that plays in the minors or the professionals has hit with an aluminum bat. And I just wanted to shout out Murray State. You guys all gave them credit. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but their coach cuts the baseball field. They probably rake their field. They probably cover it with the tarp themselves. Their stadium holds 800 people. So for them to make it to quote unquote the Elite Eight of college baseball is fantastic.
Well, if you're going to go there, I might as well just say this, and then I'll end the topic because we are going to a station break after I put this RIP out there. If you're going down there, JD, why don't we just give congratulations to Western Michigan University's hockey team because they ended up going out there and winning the college hockey tournament with no NIL or no transfer portal. And you don't have the opportunity to rebuttal that. I get the last word because I'm the host of this show, period. There you go. Peace sign, anything you want to do. But you know what? All of a sudden, we have a baseball show and we have a boxing match that's taking place between Eric and JD. I love it. Boxing has come to baseball, BB people. That's what we have. We got Eric and JD Wyatt. I don't know how this guy's going to make his way back out, but Eric, you sense a rivalry that can rival you back and forth. Eric feeds off this stuff.
Hey, trivia question. Trivia question. Where is Murray State University? Anyone know the city and state?
Yeah,
I know I'm pretty sure it's Kentucky, right?
Correct. What city?
Lexington.
Negative.
It's just outside of Louisville.
Nope.
I literally just heard the name the other day and I can't
All
get
right,
it.
let's go.
Paducah.
Oh, yeah, I know that. I drove through there before.
Kentucky.
All right, that's enough. Let's keep going. That's enough. All right. Rest in peace here. There you go, George. That's why I keep you around forever. All right. But rest in peace, Shigeru Nagashima, 1936 to 2025, a Japanese baseball legend has passed away. Why am I mentioning it? Because we're talking Japanese baseball tonight. That's why I mentioned Shohei Ohtani. This guy's way older than anybody in the panel, so nobody needs to comment on it. Every now and then we call these an FYI, and that's your FYI. And the next thing we're talking about is a station break. Candy, take it away. But once again, Shigeru Nagashima, rest in peace. Baseball is the theme tonight, and we have a lot of other stuff to get to, and Candy brings us back from the station break.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, and the foreword is written by another panelist here, Mr. George Eichhorn. Great job, gentlemen, on the book. It's an awesome read. It talks about media, old school media versus new school media, and how it has evolved. There's actually a picture of a young Scott with a young Muhammad Ali, that boxer we were just talking about boxing, right? Go get the book, see the picture, and read all the great stories. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have show ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
All right, so just want to make sure everybody gets that name right. Shigeru is the name. Nagashima is the last name. Candy, you know what? We're going to talk Marlins baseball, but we're going to talk about Robbie Ray. Why are we going to mention him? Because Jackson Joe with the Detroit Tigers going to have Tommy John surgery. And we're going to talk about Robbie Ray. And here's the thing. I saw this guy play in the All-Star game a few years back, and you talk about an unbelievable story. And Clayton McCullough had some high praise for Mr. Ray. Take it away.
Let me share my screen here. Let me get to it. Sorry.
Okay.
You didn't have an app. I'm getting there. Here we go.
Robbie Ray one last second. And that's this. He has a variety of pitches. Which of those pitches do you fear the most with a guy like him? He's 7-0 going into the game, and we know that he's had an all-star appearance here in this particular building.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. It's Robbie. I mean, he's again. There's left-handed. There's some deception there. You know, the fastball plays up, towards the top of the zone, and then the ability to get the ball, spinning down below bats. So yeah, Robbie's a tough customer. We're going to have to try to get him into areas that we're looking to hit, and hopefully when you take some shots, you're able to cash in when you get a few guys on base.
Thank you, Clayton. Okay, thanks.
So there you have it. Coach Clayton McCullough talks about Robbie Ray and Tommy John surgery, but he didn't talk about so much of Tommy John surgery. That's what Jackson Jobe's going to have to experience. But Robbie Ray has made a remarkable comeback. And in that game that we saw him face the Marlins, he did suffer his first defeat of the year, but he lost a 1-0 game. So the Marlins outbested him as a pitcher's duel there. And Robbie Ray's a name that you're going to probably see in the All-Star game. I don't have his up-to-date stats, but Katie can provide them, as I'll call on her last. But what are your thoughts, JD Wyatt, about Robbie Ray emerging as a frontline pitcher for the San Francisco Giants?
Again, I think it's fantastic for anybody to come back from Tommy John surgery. You never know what it's going to be like getting a pitcher back from that surgery. It's just fantastic, though, that he has a chance to go forward. We saw Strider. He even pulled his hamstring after doing warm-up pitches after Tommy John surgery. So when you have to tweak your throwing motion and things like that in baseball, it's different, and you might work other muscles more. And so hopefully everything's good to go with him coming back, and shout out to anybody that's come back from Tommy John surgery.
All right, just so you know, Eric is going to get 2 rants tonight, not 1. He'll know what the second one is in a moment. But Trent, what are your thoughts about what Clayton McCullough has to say about Robbie Ray?
Yeah, I think it's both these guys. It's kind of the two sides of the coin, right? Robbie's back, trying to make a go of it. Post-surgical, and a lot of guys is repaired. The challenge is the numbers don't favor the pitchers. Most things don't come back very well. And I know we have all these stories of, hey, Tommy John came back fine, and it's not easy to come back off that thing, man. And it's a long road back. Horrible to see Jackson Jobe having to go through this. He's a young man. Mysteriously, I don't love the fact, as an angel, our team physicians were curling Jobe. Great physicians, always big on shoulder, elbow guys. And of course, they did the famous capsular shrinkage and the original Tommy John at a Curlin Jobe clinic. So, it's a unique name for Jackson Jobe that he would share that. And he's just, these guys, these kids these Tommy Johns aren't 32, 33 when Tommy John had his. Right? Like, these kids are freaking 19 and 21, and you're seeing kids in high school going through this. I'm alarmed at the amount of volume of Tommy John surgeries. I'm alarmed at the age categories and what it's moved down to, and I'm alarmed that people think the success rate's high, because it's not. They're taking a ligament out of your leg to move it in. It's not. The success is not great. And we hear about the famous people that come back, but there's 1,000 kids, and
right, that's true.
It's not a big probable statistic to come back and be the same, as you can do all the work and all the stuff, but it's a tough go. So hats off to Robbie Ray, but it's going to be a tough go for Jackson, and we wish him well.
Excellent points all the way around, Trent. Go ahead,
Scott. I just wanted to squeak one thing in real quick. I'm sorry. And it was just his questions that Trent was asking. Trent, if you want to continue to follow, you said you were alarmed. You were alarmed about this and that and that and that. Are you alarmed at how quickly they're coming back from this surgery now too?
Yeah, I think the repair and everything's coming back faster, right? We've done a ton of stuff on the medical side to work in the rehabilitation. I mean, look at our hips now, right? Everyone's having outpatient hip. Go home, walk this afternoon. So the return to function, the return to movement becomes very important. I'm a guy who had a shoulder done, had frozen shoulder after the surgery. I mean, you got to keep moving, and it's dangerous ground. So, I'm on the fence about how fast it's moving. Ohtani actually is kind of the opposite, right? They've really taken him a long time, considering he's 22 months out from pitching last. So he's kind of the exception to the rule, because he's special, and he is special. But I I think the alarm of moving things faster, it's a little concerning.
Okay, fair enough. George?
Well, Robbie Ray, of course, was drafted by the Washington Nationals, but the Tigers had possession of him and his contract back in 2014. I've kind of watched his career from a French point of view. Obviously, he's had some really good years in there and some real down years. And you take a look at the last several years, as unfortunately during the surgery, his contributions have been minimal. But again, this happens like you said, Trent, guys that are young. Robbie's got a few years on him. Obviously, he's not as young as Job and these guys that are having the surgery. But the fact of the matter is, I'm happy for him. He's done well this year so far, and I hope he can continue that. But it is a tough situation always coming back from Tommy John or whatever surgery a pitcher has to come back from. But he's had some good years in his career, and now he's hoping to get back to those good years and rekindle some of that. But it still remains to be seen. So far, so good though in his comeback.
I actually saw him when he was with Seattle Mariners and interviewed him, and he's a really super class act when I covered the All-Star game here in Miami. All right, Candy, you have some stats on Ray, and then we'll give Eric the last word on this one. Okay, I want to keep it rolling.
He's 8-1 this year. His ERA is 2.55, 92 strikeouts. I mean, one of the things that we kind of tend to forget is how hard they throw. Now, when we look at how he throws fastball 97, 98. He throws even like his curveball and the slider at 85. Like that's no slouch. That's strong pitching. And part of, I think, why we're seeing so many pitchers have Tommy John is we've gone to this specialized, we need to be specialized in one sport and one sport only. And so we start specializing in that sport so early on. We've heard from other trainers, Scott, I know you've talked to other people on and interviewed them, and they said that there's something about playing different sports that you use different muscles. You're not constantly using the same muscle and wearing it out. You're playing, you're doing different things. I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing more and more of those kind of injuries. But kudos to him, because like it's not easy to come back from. Like we've said, there are how many thousands of pitchers have had Tommy John surgery? How many of them have really come back and been effective after the surgery?
Excellent points all the way around. Eric, you have the last word on this, and then when we're done with Eric, he's going to actually have two rants, and I'm going to mention he'll have one of them and then his other one later on. Okay, go ahead, Eric.
Well, some of it's talent development, because now we're looking for guys to be Randy Johnson day in and day out to the point and it's something I've always had a problem with, to the point where I had a friend of mine. She said, "Is there a day where you don't complain about how they develop them?" And I told her no. But it's been a growing problem in baseball today. It really has. Obviously the specialization of one sport isn't helping, but it has nothing really. That's some of it, but I don't think it's completely it. I just think that we've stopped teaching kids how to pitch. We've only taught them how to throw. We want them throwing 95 plus miles an hour or 89 when they're 14 years old, and boom, they're under the knife at a young age. And some of them don't even get signed to play pro baseball because their arm is practically looking like Anakin Skywalker's at the end of episode 2. It's a very big problem. We don't train these guys how to pitch. We only teach them how to throw. It's why you're seeing surgeries going through the roof. It's why you're seeing some kids who probably won't even be able to lift up their kid when they're born. It's really a bad thing. It's because it's called people in baseball now. And I think part of that too is the minor part of it too is like, because everything starts at the MLB level and then trickles all the way down. The MLB level is not teaching them how to throw, so people at the Little League level are like, well, I don't need to teach them how to throw now because they can go play pro baseball. But it's a big problem. They're not varietizing their pitches. They're just thinking that it's always going to be the high heat and that's all. Nah, you mean, there are plenty of guys today who haven't had the surgery, who are more finesse, yet they still have success, who kind of rebel against that notion, which I've always admired those guys. But it's a very big problem in the game today. I feel awful for Jackson Jobe, but God, we need to get back to teaching them how to throw and how to pitch and how to varietize their pitches.
Excellent point. All right, Eric. Here's rant number one.
Wait,
and this
wait. One last point. Can I just say, 50 years ago, Tommy John, a pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers, had a career-saving experimental elbow surgery to repair the torn collateral ligament. As of 2024, 36% of all active major league pitchers have undergone Tommy John surgery, and the rate continues to increase yearly. 36.
Right, I'm only going to reinforce one thing, and nobody gets a comment on it. I'm just saying it for the sake of the topic. Tommy John belongs in the Baseball Hall of Fame, period. Exclamation point. And for no other reason, because of what his surgery's done to prolong careers and the fact that his numbers were pretty good. We talked about this on a previous show, and that's where this topic finally ends. Now we go on to Eric. First rant. The Yankees took Devin Williams out of the closer's role earlier in the year. And then, Candy, you can even chime in on it. And it's only going to be these two people because they're closer to the situation. And then we'll continue on. I don't want to, unless Trent wants to get some, but I want to keep this one limited because we still have a lot more to go. First of all, Eric, what are your thoughts about Devin Williams being taken out of the closer role?
I had to be done. I just think, I think personally, he's been better now that he's kind of has it back on a part-time basis because Luke Weaver's been hurt. But I think it just had to be done. We don't need another Clay Holmes situation where we think he's going to bounce back, and then next thing you know, he just is awful to the point where they have to they take him out after a few too many blown saves. But I think the Yankees did the right thing. Devin Williams, he's got plenty of experience as a setup man. He was doing that for Josh Hader for a while before he officially took over as the closer. And I think it's a good thing because, hey, it's a lot different playing in Milwaukee than it is in New York.
Okay. Candy?
Yeah. Devin was a very good closer, but he's so specialized that you have to put him in almost like a rotation. He can't be overused either. So, he had some really good years with the Brewers, but the market for the Milwaukee Brewers is way different than the market is for the New York Yankees.
Fair enough. Okay.
It can be brutal.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
Milwaukee, you don't nearly get the hard-hitting questions that you'll get in New York.
Oh, no question about that. There's no question. So, all right, so let's continue on. And that's this. We're going to talk about a couple of Hall of Fame possibilities, and we're going to give, and Southern Pride came back in time to get involved with this conversation. All right, good stuff, JD. Hall of Fame, Louis Tiant, 49 shutouts, 187 complete games, 3-time All-Star, 2-time ERA title. His record is 227, 172 with a 3.30. Earned run average, 3,486 innings pitched, 2,416 games, 573. And game started 486. All right, JD, what do you think? We're talking about El Tiante and the Boston Red Sox. Do you think he belongs in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, with the numbers you just presented, yeah, put him in. Yeah, the numbers. I mean, hey, I want to know too, complete games. Yeah, they're going to have to reevaluate that stat because we all know that it's going away.
No question about it.
Yeah, they're keeping guys on a pitch count. They're taking them out. So unless you're in college, you won't see complete games.
Well, you're 100% right. We've talked about it time and time again. And as you continue to come on this show more and more often, it's a topic that you're familiar with. This is a segment that we talk about in terms of Hall of Fame possibilities. And I tried to pick out the best couple ones and Louis Tiant. But let me tell you something, JD. Your point is 100% accurate. It really, really is. What you do with the complete game stat, that's why I like to bring up particular hurlers, and this guy is one of them. Great stuff, JD. All right, what are your thoughts, Trent, about El Tiante? Does he belong in the Hall
Uh,
of Fame?
I think he does. Louis Tiant is a iconic player for the Red Sox. I think the 187 complete games. I'm gonna go against that actually and say, back to kind of Eric's rant here a little bit, is the fact that we're not honoring these stats. We're looking at hard flamethrower guys. Listen, Greg Maddux threw complete games with 90 pitches. Like, when people actually learn how to throw the ground ball and throw sinkers that guys can't get a hold of and they're just going to roll over. I just came from a little league tonight. I watched one of our pitchers throw 2 innings under 8 pitches.
Hey,
Like
Trent,
both innings. So when I listen, this is the new stat. Get people out. You're gonna find out that people can throw complete games at 125 pitches, and they've got the fortitude to come back after 5 games and they throw 125. Now, if you can't throw a complete game inside that, yeah, you're gonna limit that because they're gonna do some level of pitch count. But at the end of the day, these stats are gonna change because there's going to be value in that as opposed to can you throw 101 down the middle? Because in that league, everybody turns 101 down the middle around. That doesn't mean jack. If you throw it down the middle, you're going to get spun up. And it doesn't matter what you got. It doesn't matter. You have to learn to pitch, and they're going to have to start valuing that again.
so Trent, did you have anything you wanted to add about the Devin Williams situation?
No, nope, I
Okay.
don't. I think it is what it is, and I think it's a good move for the team. They're
Yeah.
doing what's best.
That's all right. Eric and Candy, I felt were probably more
Yeah,
than
thorough.
willing to talk about it, and that's where we go. All right,
Oh,
George, what are your
okay.
thoughts about El Tiante?
Well, he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame if I had a vote. He was on the ballot and peaked at 30.9% in his first ballot year. So he was on the ballot from 1988 to 2002. Then, if that's not enough, he was looked at by the Golden Era Committee and the Modern Era Committee 3 times. And those gentlemen on those committees did not advance his nomination. He's in one of those tough situations like our friend Mickey Lolich. They had really
Right.
good careers, really solid careers, good stats. I mean, Louis Tiant led the whole American League in 1968 in earned run average. And of course, Bob Gibson had that incredible year in 68, as we know. But Louis Tiant was so dominant. When he was dominant, he was dominant. I mean, he was really spot on. But again, the All-Star games, I think there's only like 4 or something. He didn't have enough consistency throughout the whole career. I do admire him, though. He was quite the inspiration for the Latino community. He was an inspiration for Red Sox fans and the whole Boston era, Red Sox era in that time frame. And he's a real close call, but unfortunately, he's just not got enough for me.
Okay, Candy.
He played for 19 years in the major league. That's a long time. You don't do that by being just average. Like 19 years is a long time to play. Does he belong in the Hall of Fame? I think it's going to go down to what do we qualify as really good? What do we qualify as
Right.
good? Who should be in there? Is it how many World Series championships you have? Is it how many innings you pitched? Is it how many strikeouts? Like he had 2,416 strikeouts. His ERA was 3.30 over the course of 19 years. That's not over the course of 2 years. He had 187 complete games and 49 shutouts in 3,486 and a third innings. He was an all-star for 3 seasons and 20-game winner for 4 seasons. He was the American League ERA leader in 68 and 72. He was the AL leader in strikeouts per 9 innings pitched in 1967 and the AL leader in shutouts in 66, 68, and 74. He was inducted into the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame, the Hispanic Heritage Baseball Museum Hall of Fame, the Venezuelan Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, and Baseball requiring a Shrine of the Eternals. He was considered in the National Baseball Hall of Fame, but he did not make it. Do I think he deserves in? Yes, I do.
Okay. Eric?
I think, unfortunately for Luis Tiant, yeah, I think he deserves to get in, but he also falls victim to the era he played in because he also played against guys like Tom Seaver, Gaylord Perry, Fergie Jenkins, Catfish Hunter, Nolan Ryan, Ron Guidry, and many others who I think were much bigger names than Luis Tiant. Unfortunately, that's just the unfortunate part because yeah, he played against some pretty great pitchers who, in their own right, are obviously halls of famers. So unfortunately for Tiant, though, he kind of falls victim to the era he pitched in because during the 70s, that was a golden era for pitching. And Bob Gibson also was playing during that time. Denny McLain, obviously, before he got into trouble, was there during that time. Mickey Lolich was there. I think, unfortunately, those guys, he just falls into the era. It was the era that he played in because during the 70s, that was a golden era for pitchers.
You know what? I'm going to agree.
There's a reason they moved the mound back.
Right. I'm going to agree with you. I do believe that he belongs in the Hall of Fame. The only thing missing actually is a World Series championship. If he wins a World Series title, that probably changes the argument a little bit. But the thing I loved about El Tiante was his delivery and the fact that he had his eyes and deception so away from the batter that it was the most quirky delivery I've ever seen. So I'm actually endorsing El Tiante. We'll continue the Hall of Fame conversation a little bit to another guy, Chase Utley, Hall of Fame, yes or no? His numbers are 275 with 1,885 hits, 259 home runs, 1,025 RBI. He's received 39.8% of the vote in his second year on the ballot. In 2025, he's a 6-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger World Series champion in 2008. So he does actually have a World Series on his resume. So, his numbers to me aren't the greatest, but we're talking about a different era. So, all right, Eric, I'm going to start off with you on Chase. What are your thoughts about whether Chase Utley belongs in? Keep in mind, 39.8% in his second year on the ballot.
Not really. Like he had 2006 to 2010 were kind of peak years for him. But then the rest of the time he was just good. He kind of had like a career similar to like Roger Maris, where he had like great years sandwiched in between years where he was just mediocre. But not really. I just think I think he was a very good player. I mean, He was a big part of the Phillies World Series team, but I don't think he's a Hall of Famer at all. And he also never led the league, aside from 1 year in runs. He never led the league in any statistical category. And he just, to me, aside from a few All-Star appearances, he was just a good player, but not one that's like the best of your era, which I don't think Chase Utley was.
Okay, Candy.
Utley's 7 career World Series home runs are the most for a second baseman, and he shares the record of 5 home runs in a single World Series with Reggie Jackson and George Springer. Do I think he belongs in? Batting average 275, home runs 259, and runs batted in of 1,025. I would say no. Hall of Very Good, but not Hall of Fame.
All right, JD Wyatt.
This is going to be weird. I'll be honest. But I would put Chase Utley in the Hall of Fame just because when I used to play PlayStation 4 and 3 back in the day, and I was playing MLB, whatever year, 2013, 2014, whatever the year was, I would pick Chase Utley always as my second baseman. Everybody done it. If you've played video games before, you've done it. I don't want to hear anything different. If you've played video games before, you've traded for all of the best players. And for me, one of the best players in the MLB at second base in that time was Chase Utley. And so regardless of his facts or stats or whatever, I would put him in the Hall of Fame.
You know what? I like different opinions, and you actually have a pretty intriguing one. No problem. More power to you. All right, Trent.
Yeah, he's a big no for me. Love him. Like, I think he's an absolute gamer. So he's got leadership skills, and he's also clutch. Like, he really shows up when it's on the line. And I think he was a big propel, a guy who really got things going for his playoff teams because he'd have great at bats. So he's a guy who can turn up his game at that highest level. But, look at the numbers day in, day out, and they're good numbers, but they're not Hall of Fame numbers. And so, I don't subscribe to what we're designating players in PlayStation. So, it's a nice little deal, but Bo Jackson back in the old deal of Tecmo Bowl, we had superpowers and super skills, and that was cute that they did it in the machine. But in reality, guys get injured and guys get hurt and it can end real quick, and that's it. And he was a super player, but for Chase Utley, he's one of those guys who's just a really strong guy at his position during his era, and a great player to have on your team, and a fan favorite. All those reasons are all good, but the numbers don't lie, and the numbers don't qualify.
Okay, George.
Go
ahead, JD.
I just want to say one thing in regards to Trent, to what he just said. And yeah, George, absolutely take it over after this. I didn't say put him in based on my PlayStation numbers that I got him. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. But what I was saying is he was one of the more popular players during that time who had stats that are Hall of Fame debatable. So again, I completely agree with everybody's opinion who say don't put him in. But to me, I would put him in just because, like I said, he was a character that I knew. And it's the Michael Jordan, LeBron James debate. Like, everybody's got their favorite regardless of the time era. But I just wanted to make sure I was clear. Chase Utley doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame because he hit 56 home runs for me and won me the World Series on MLB 2014.
Okay. All I'm going to say is I'm not endorsing him whatsoever. Let me say this, Eric, okay? Don Mattingly belongs in there way before Chase Utley. So we're going to sit here and talk about Chase Utley. That's fine. I say Hall of very good for him. Don Mattingly needs to get in before I even talk about any auxiliary candidates, and that's it. Carrick, you want to add to that real quickly? Go ahead.
I was about to say Don Mattingly, because if you put Chase Utley in, you got to put Don Mattingly in, who was like the best player for about half the 80s. Like, you'd have to put him in because Don Mattingly, there was a period of time during the 80s where Don Mattingly dominated during the 80s. Utley did not dominate that era. He had some good seasons where, solid, competent guy you want in your lineup. But no, he wasn't the big bat in that lineup was Ryan Howard. I don't think he was the best player on his own team. That was Ryan Howard at that point in time.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? You're right. I mean, I tell you right now, Ryan Howard and Jimmy Rollins, to me, I would look at more before I would Chase Utley, just so you know. That's what I think. So great points all the way around. So that limit it. Everybody get their opinion on this one.
George has to go.
Go ahead, George.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to put a guy in that only 5 times in his career he had 20 or more home runs. Only 5 times in his career he had 90 or more RBI. In his career, he didn't even hit 2,000 base hits. He finished at 1,885. Okay, batting average again is not enough for me. Home runs 259 total in his career. No, I'm sorry. He was a good player and certainly a spark plug for the Phillies, but he does not get into the Hall of Fame, I don't believe.
Okay, next topic. On most shows, this topic gets in earlier, but considering what we're dealing with tonight with Ohtani and everybody else, we're going to talk about her a little bit later. But a person I've worked with before, AUSL Commissioner Kim Ming on MLB strategy to involve women's softball. This is a watershed moment for women's sports and especially softball. MLB's investment will supercharge our efforts to build the sustainable professional league this sport has long deserved. MLB takes a historic step with strategic investment into women's sports. The new, and just so you know what the acronym is here, the new Athletes Unlimited Softball League, and the deal includes fundraiser marketing. So keep in mind that this is a league that now is what we call a pioneering situation. So Eric, what are your thoughts about what Kim Ming is doing to put softball as well as MLB's involvement in it?
I love it. I think it's been a long time coming for women's softball. I mean, the College World Series always gets numbers. I mean, the people watch it. It's really entertaining. I actually interned for a softball team when I was in college, when I was getting the early start in sports. And
Right.
you know, I think it was a long time coming. I think it's long overdue. There's popularity. There's the league is clearly, you know, especially at the college level, people watch. The Olympics always drew numbers, especially with people like Jenny Finch, Monica Abbott, Kyle Osterman, etc. You know, I just think it's a long time coming. I'm glad that it's happening now, and I'm hoping that it builds great momentum going forward.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I know somebody who played it, and she actually works for the Marlins. Her name is Kelly Sacco, dynamite young broadcaster for the Miami Marlins. Kelly's great, and she knows the game real well. So, and of course, let's not forget Jessica Mendoza had played it well for a lot of years too. And so, what Kim Ng is doing is really great. And I'll say this: I've worked with Kim before with the Marlins, and she did a dynamite job with that organization, even getting them to the playoffs. So, I think whatever Kim Ng touches turns into gold. Candy, some thoughts?
I'm happy to see women's sports come to fruition and to get some of the highlighting that they have. Women's basketball, Caitlin Clark has brought an awareness to WNBA and to the college game for that matter. Paige Breckers, she brought, to basketball. Good for Kim Ng. She had a great career. She was a GM in the major leagues with Miami. Mm-hmm. She was also with the Yankees at one point. She actually has a vote on the Baseball Hall of Fame, what we were just talking about. But kudos to her for starting up this new professional softball for women. It's just another avenue for women to show off their talents in sports. And kudos to her for bringing the major league into it. Just like the NBA helps the WNBA, Major League Baseball is helping women's softball. I love it. I used to play softball, and there wasn't a position on that field that I have not played. So I loved both. I've played both fast pitch and slow pitch, and I've been both a catcher and a pitcher. So I love it.
All right, Southern Pride.
I love women's sports. I think I figured out the key for sports to be popular. Do not play when other major sports are on. So if you're the WNBA, obviously you're not competing with the finals right now. You're not competing really with the College World Series. You're not competing with the NFL or college football. So start a league, play it when there are literally no other sports that people can consume. And if you're a sports junkie like me, I will find the sports on the TV and I will be entertained. The WNBA has done a better job of this lately. So, women, if you want me to pay attention to you, number one, never mind, I won't say number one because it's kind of political. We'll save that for another day. But you know what I'm talking about. And number two, play when nobody else plays.
An interesting point. Okay. Brent?
Yeah, I think it's somewhat. I'll tell you, baseball, you better watch out because college softball's a great spectator sport.
I've said that same thing before, Trent. Hey, I've said that same thing. Baseball,
it's fast,
NBA,
it's intense. Yep, I mean, it's fast, it's intense. It's a quick game, and baseball's already losing spectators. No one's coming to watch the chess match anymore. The chess match was the thing. Baseball is a very intellectual game, and people don't know what's going on. And I think the comparison is tennis to pickleball. Everybody wants to play pickleball. You go out, get a paddle. It's basically standing on top of a ping pong table, and in 30 minutes you can be having a game, and a decent game. Tennis is very highly skilled. It's highly complex, and it's not easy for John Q. public to join in. And baseball is slow and complex. Softball is quick, it's fast, it's intense. The short game makes it more intense. So you're losing all these MLB fans to hockey because it's fast and there's fighting, there's violence, and I think it's a decent investment for sure. I'll be interested to see how it goes. And MLB, I think, has flopped a lot of investments, so I hope they can support this. Kim's probably the right person to have at the helm of this, and so that's pretty exciting.
All right, you know what? Kane says we need 50 more Caitlin Clark's boy, and that's the truth. Well, let's see if we can get at least a second one, let alone add 48 more. But that's a
Yeah, right.
All right, George, go ahead.
Oh, I'm all for it. Kim's the right person to lead it. We've talked before on your shows about the NHL not getting behind the women's professional hockey league yet. I think this is overdue. Women's softball is very popular. My goddaughter used to play on the community college team here in Warren, Michigan, and I'd watch the games and follow her season, and it was just a great opportunity, I know, for her and other young women to play softball, especially on the collegiate level. So I'm all for it, and yes, I second the motion that Kim is the right person for it. Major League Baseball, what's taking you so long? That's all I can say.
So everybody else have their opinion on it? Is there anything else you want to add, JD Wyatt? We'll have a moment. I'll give you the last word on it. How's that?
Well, I'll respond to what the commenter said. The WNBA needs 50 more Caitlin Clarks. I tell you what, if you give me more 50s, I'll take 20 more Angel Reeses. I'm all, dude. I love the college. If you haven't watched the Women's College World Series, as we've got the men's going, like if you haven't watched the softball one, I am all in on women's sports, and if you're not, I don't know what you're doing.
Well, I'll reiterate what I said. If for any other show but this one gets a little bit moved to the top of the show. But in this particular case, when Shohei Ohtani and a lot of the other things that we're talking about tonight, then this one is it's good to have balance with these subjects anyway throughout the show. And I'm glad that we are deep enough in what we're doing that we're able to do it. Yeah, we need more bricklayers. Well, that's a pretty interesting comment. All right, we'll leave it at that.
He's basically saying we need a lot of everything is basically what we need. Everybody needs. The Braves need stuff. The Dodgers, they've had 12 players injured this year. Baseball is a weird game.
Okay, two more subjects I want to get to. Number one, I'll be seeing him in a few weeks, and George will be seeing him an awful lot. But the story of Jack Caglione is unbelievable. He's a top prospect. He homered in his fourth straight game in AAA on June. And actually, all right, let me go over there again because there's a lot to bite off on Jack. He actually homered in his fourth straight game in AAA. On June 2nd, the Royals called him up, and he's a 2024 number 6 overall prospect from the Florida Gators. And then Harold Reynolds predicts that Jack is different. We're going to be talking about this guy for years to come. Again, with the Florida Gators, I know about them because the Florida Gators are a media distribution partner. So, Eric, I'm going to start off with you on this. What do you think about Jack Caglione?
It's incredible. I mean, 4 straight games, that's pretty hard to do. I mean, it's already hard enough. It's never been harder these days to hit a home run, especially with these guys who are even the guy in the back of the bullpen throwing 98 too. But it's not easy to do, but it's just incredible what he's doing at such an early age.
Sure is. All right, JD Wyatt.
Jack Caglione, I paid attention to him down when he was playing for Florida.
Right.
He is one of the best two-way players coming out of college. Honestly, he had the potential to be a very mild, mediocre version of Shohei Ohtani when it came to pitching and hitting. Obviously, though, he's made his way to the MLB. So, Jack Caglione, he's managed to make his way to the MLB hitting with aluminum bats all the way to the MLB where he now hits with wooden bats.
Well, you were definitely going to make sure you got that in somewhere. And now I fed this guy exactly what he wanted. Don't worry, Eric. We all know, in my opinion, where you stand on both. But I was waiting for JD Wyatt to bring up the aluminum bats. So, JD, I'm going to give you a quiz. What does GMTA stand for again?
Great minds think alike.
Good. You better make
And
sure you get it right on Thursday night, too. All right. Good stuff. That was a quick quiz. All right, Trent. But he does catches on.
Yeah, I don't love the Harold Reynolds comment. Like I think the kid's a great ball player, and like listen, there's a ton of guys who've hit 4 home runs in AAA, like in 4 days in a row. Like this is not new. You know, hanging on that we're gonna be talking about these guys forever. You know, for every Joe Mauer that you actually do talk about forever, there's 20 guys that are like, oh, this guy's gonna be the next, blah 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 blah. Like, you know what? Don't hang them on those kids, man. Just let them go out and play. Let's see what he is about. It's fun that he's special. It's fun that he's had a great week. A week. Like, but you know what? He's gonna go up there and see some stuff that's not the same. And I'm gonna disagree with Catsy. Even though I love the guy, Catsy, it's easier than shit to hit home runs now because no one knows how to pitch. They go 3-0, they go 2-0, they fall behind trying to run up the gun, and then they gotta throw some cock diesel right down the middle at 2-0 at 100 miles an hour, and that's a very easy ball to make contact with and use the force of that they're generating and turn it around. So the long ball is not the biggest and hardest thing to hit anymore. So these kids who don't know how to pitch, and especially at the minor league level, their challenge in this is that all these kids who are like California League All-Stars and blah, 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 it means nothing to what you're going to be in the major leagues. It means jack nothing. You have 250 young players in the minor leagues in every organization, and only 25 are going to make the major league roster. That's a 10%. The best 10% are going to make it. So when you're sitting down there playing A ball, even double A, you're only sitting at the best. You know, now you're only at the second half of that, of the best 125 players still in the game. So, like, you're a long way from being a guy in that league in the show. So stop hanging this stuff on, oh, we're going to be talking about him forever. And you know, the sad thing is, and nothing against Jack, because I'm sure Jack's a great player, but like, what if he slides into a bag and tears up his ankle? Then all of a sudden you can't run right, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know, what he could have been. What is this? All that BS. Like, you know what? Let the kid play out. Let it see what happens, and let him just keep progressing. He's progressing great right now, and that's fabulous. Let's leave it at that, Harold Reynolds. Don't hang that crap on him, because you know who was the worst at hanging this crap on him was our own, Detroit's own Sparky Anderson, who loved to hang the big title on some guy who's just coming up in the league and he's going to be the next whatever. Like, let's just see what happens.
I'll fill in the blank. Mickey Mantle, right? I knew where you were going with this one. And we'll go to Mr. Detroit, George Eichler.
I think you're referring to Chris Pitaro. Chris Pitaro was one of Sparky's guys, I think.
Oh, man, there's probably 5 or 7 of them, right?
Oh, I'm sure. You know, yeah, there's a lot of pressure. I'll put this in perspective, okay? This guy was just drafted last year by the Kansas City Royals in the first round, 6th overall. I'm talking about the 2024 Major League Draft. So they're giving him a shot right now. He earned his way to get this shot in the big leagues. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee at all, but they had enough confidence in him and seeing what he has been doing in the minor leagues. And if, as you guys mentioned, from the University of Florida, where he had an outstanding career. This is so important. This is important because this is a kid that needs a chance. And there are a lot of them out there. Every team has these guys. But you're right on, Trent. This is not a guarantee. You are facing the best pitchers in baseball. You're facing the best coaching staffs in baseball. And there's a lot of work that goes into becoming successful. It doesn't happen overnight. So give this kid a chance. That's what the Royals are doing. He may not may not stay up the rest of this year. We don't know yet. But he's getting an opportunity, okay? And for Jack Caglione, I give you the credit there. You're working hard at your craft, and you want to see this thing come true. But don't lose hope. Don't give up. Even if the numbers go a little south, don't give up, because you got hopefully a bright future ahead of you.
Well, let's not lose sight of the biggest point that a lot of people haven't gotten to this point. And Eric, I'll turn to you in a moment while this is fresh in my head, okay, please. The Royals are good when it comes to player development. That's how
Yes.
they won their last World Series, okay? And I know what this kid can do based on his body of work over at University of Florida. And I thought they got a steal in the draft at number 6. Now, time will tell where his career goes. That's another story. But when it comes to player development, the Royals are really good at it. In fact, I covered the Florida State League back in the 80s. Ever heard of a guy by the name of Brett Saberhagen? Guess what? He came from within their system. The list goes on, and this dates back many years in terms of what the Royals have done. So I like Caglione. Is it too early to tell? You know it, man. It is. But their track record for player development in Kansas City is awfully good, and I will not sell this team short. I don't care if he's using a torpedo bat, a cork bat, it doesn't make any difference. You still have to put bat on ball. And that's all I can really have to say. I mean, we joke around about torpedo, it doesn't matter. You have to make sure the object of the game in baseball is put bat on ball, period. No matter how we want to get philosophical about this whole thing. So there you go.
That's what I was gonna say right there. Candy just showed it. That was my response to what you said, Scott. Great minds think they think alike because
Candy, we're getting through to this guy. He'll have no problem remembering this thing by the time he gets to the country club.
I trust the Royals to develop a young player. I mean, there are certain teams that have good farm systems. There are certain teams like the Yankees who just sign everybody else as good players from their farm system.
Not true.
No, don't get me started there. No, I don't want to. That'll be another night. Don't
no, that's fine. But
not tonight. Okay.
No, but what I was Royals, I trust developing players.
Well, I mean, no question. But you know what? Their track record goes back a long, long ways. I saw that back in the 80s when they played in Fort Myers with the Fort Myers Royals. I saw them play with the Fort Lauderdale Yankees. I mean, this isn't just something that recently happened. This is something they've been doing a long time. And now we're just bringing up Jack Caglione because most of the audience we have these days is a little bit younger anyway. But mark my word, JD, I agree with you. That's why I brought it up in the first place. I'm not going to put the next Mickey Mantle on this guy, but I'm telling you one thing: don't sell the Royals short in terms of player development. All right, Eric, you go ahead, and Candy can finish up topic. One more topic to get to before we call it a night.
I mean, there's going to be times where prospects, these guys just get figured out. It's just part of the deal. It's never been easier nowadays to figure a guy out with all this technology and video and all that other stuff. It is just, unfortunately, it's just how we go about it nowadays. It is just unfortunate. It's just like, but the best ones adjust, and we'll see if Caglione can adjust. I mean, that's just the way the game is. These guys always get figured out. And I think we all get guilty of prospect hyping. Every team does it.
Okay, Trent, go ahead. Candy has the last word.
Yeah, I just think that when we talk about this, I was looking up, players that actually went to the major leagues that played very little in the minors, like Alex Rodriguez, Ken Griffey Jr., very long. Of course, John Olerud never played a single game in the minors, which is pretty impressive. And then the last guy was Mike Leake. Anyone remember that guy, Mike Leake, who was drafted by the Reds in 2009 out of Arizona State? I don't know what happened to Mike Leake's career, but it was not a Hall of Fame career, and he never played a game in the minors. And it's no knock on Mike Leake. It's a hard league. But it rarely works out to expedite guys that fast. But, we'll see. We'll see how it plays. There's always some special players in there. So we'll see how it works.
Let's not lose sight of the fact that Al Kaline never played in the minor leagues either. We'll leave it at that. Candy, you have the last word on the topic.
Good one. Nice one.
Yeah.
Caglione grew up in Tampa, Florida. He tore his ulnar collateral ligament in his left elbow while playing in a postseason All-Star game after his senior season, subsequently undergoing Tommy John surgery. So in high school, he was a two-pitch pitcher who featured a mid-90s fastball, projected around 94 miles an hour, and measured up to a 97 to 98. He also threw a slurve, which was like a curveball, while his throws as a first baseman were projected to be 90 miles per hour. So he threw fast. We talked about Tommy John surgery earlier. Yes, he's made his major league debut. He has not pitched though for a while now. He became the 7th Major League Baseball rookie this year with a 4-hit game this season as well. So it's very early on. I wish him the best. I do remember he was very good at Florida because I remember posting a lot of different articles with his name on it. So good luck to him.
Okay. Final topic of the night. Eric, you get to rant on it first. Everybody else gets to comment. We talk about Rafael Devers being traded to the San Francisco Giants. We'll let Eric have the first word, and then everybody else gets to talk about it while I break down the gist of the trade. Go ahead, Eric.
Boy, I'm starting to believe, though, that if you become like the best player on the Red Sox, that your job is eventually going to be moved to California. It's happened with Betts, it's happened with Bogarts, and now Devers is the latest. How stupid can the Red Sox be? You trade away arguably your best offensive player to the Giants just because your general manager's ego is hurt because you didn't communicate with him in the offseason. The guy you designated to be your franchise player, say, hey, the very least you could have done was give him a phone call and say, hey, we really are thinking about signing Bregman. He's objectively a better defensive player. Here's our plan for you. I'm sure if the communication happened, it would have gone along with it. Instead, he's blindsided and finds out, oh, yeah, you're DHing. And then all of a sudden, no, we want you in the field. Well, when you told him to forget his glove and now you give his glove, the guy's confused and he's frustrated because you have no idea what you want from him. It was just another incredibly stupid move on the Boston Red Sox part. That's why they're in the position they're in. And that's why they keep on just extending the rebuild. They were counting on Devers to be that guy. He was arguably having a career where I think his jersey number would have been retired by the Boston Red Sox. I think he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory if things keep going. But Boston screwed this up. They not only that, but they caught him at the absolute worst time and just right at the timing of it couldn't have been worse after the Red Sox swept the Yankees. You announced the trade, and boom, you just poured cold water on what has been the high point of the Red Sox season so far. It's going to be a long year for Boston. They are done. There's no way you recover from trading a star player that abruptly. There is just no way. Don't be shocked though if Boston ends up just totally cratering, regardless if Alex Bregman's coming back, because Bregman's not the kind of guy that can lift teams to new heights. Bregman is more like a Robin to a Batman. He was that way in Houston with guys like George Springer and Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa around. The guy was never the go-to guy. He wasn't even the best player on that team. But man, it's going to be a long year for Boston. Yeah, you bring the kids up and we'll see how it goes. But count on it being another cold, dark October out in Beantown for the Red Sox. And nobody is smiling more than yours truly because I no longer have to deal with him in the American League East.
There you go. Great rant. So let me go over the details of the trade as it was conducted and finalized today. The trade is that Rafael Devers goes to the San Francisco Giants. Boston's return is Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, 2 prospects, Jose Bello, and James Tibbs. All right, JD Wyatt, give me your thoughts on this trade.
Well, I mentioned it to you guys earlier. My dirty C words: chemistry, culture, commitment, camaraderie, all of those things. And guess what you can add to the list? We already mentioned clutch,
money,
and this other one, cancer. Sometimes there is a cancer in the locker room.
That is not
Sometimes true. There are people that are infecting people in other ways. And everything I have heard is that Rafael Devers was a cancer in the locker room. So I get it why he could be sour about not being, also a dirty C word, communicated with. So it was wrong on both sides, Boston and Devers. Both of them have done wrong. Let's just go ahead and cut ways. Let's see if we can get a fresh start. We'll see what happens. But that is my outside perspective on the whole thing. And listen, like I said, that was
Okay.
what I tied it to. I've heard he was negative in the locker room. I mean, I'm not here for that. I'm not here for negativity. Scott, you know that. We ain't here for negativity on South Florida Tribune, are we?
No, not at all. I like this guy. No, we're not. Absolutely. I'm with you there. Okay. Well, going to Trent, who's been in one of these clubhouses 9 million times over. What are your thoughts about the trade? And I should point out the specifics of the trade that Eric was referring to before. When the Dodgers received Mookie Betts and David Price, the Red Sox ended up getting Jeter Downs, Alex Vertigo, and Connor Wong. So those are what Derek was talking about. Just want to fill in the blanks there. So now go ahead, Trent.
Yeah, I think there's 1,000 reasons why clubs trade players, right? And, you know, I always relate to the fact that the fans know about 10% of what's going on inside the clubhouse. And you can all speculate on what it is and what it's not, but organizations are going to make their decisions based on business, and it's a business decision. And for whatever reason, this is what they're going to do. You know, you hope that these trades work out and there's balance in it. And sometimes, you know, you got to play a little long game, right? Because you give somebody up and a young player, and 5 years later, like, oh yeah, we got this guy on the Betts trade, and it's, you know, he's a fabulous contributor now. And so there's a long game you're playing, but it's often rare that I hear media, the teams tie it back to that trade and what we were looking to do, and here's our plan. Because as we all know, teams, everything is subject to change. So we're all just sitting on a speculation of why they did what they did, and you know, not sure how the fans feel about it, but I don't really have a feeling about it, really. Like Boston's clutching because they look a little desperate, right? They're not sitting very strong in the East, and the East is really tough, and I'm sure there's a lot of pressure. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out long term. But, you know, a lot of people shaking their heads on some of these trades.
Okay, Catsy.
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, first off, that rumor about him being a quote unquote cancer in the locker room was, I'm 100% sure it was leaked by Craig Breslow or John Henry. I'm not sure why people want to take them at their word when there's nobody more full of it than John Henry. The locker room was shocked when he was traded. Everybody in the locker room liked the guy. I have never heard a negative thing said about Rafael Devers in the locker room. I'm 100% sure this was between Craig Breslow and Rafael Devers. The Red Sox should have communicated with their franchise player in the offseason, saying, hey, here's what we're thinking. Here's what it's going to do. And here's what your role is going to look like. Instead of just abruptly pull the wool over his eyes, moving to designated hitter, which to his credit, he still continued to rake despite a kind of a slow start in April. And then you go ahead and turn around and say, when Tristan Casas gets hurt, you're so desperate because you have no other first baseman saying, we kind of need you to play first base. Now you're messing with the guy's routine. This has nothing to do with Devers' lock in the locker room. This has everything to do with Craig Breslow's ego that's bigger than the city of Boston. It is awful. No, let me finish, Southern Fried. This was between Breslow and also Devers. It had nothing to do with Devers and his teammates. The locker room was shocked. Matter of fact, they're probably so shaken up that I'm not even sure if they'll be able to put a pinky toe out on the dirt tonight against the Seattle Mariners. It had everything to do with Breslow as well as Devers and their relationship. The Red Sox completely screwed this up. They screwed it up so badly, worse than anything Bill Buckner ever did when he had the unfortunate distinction of booting the ground ball. It had nothing to do with him being a cancer in the clubhouse. I wanted to make that clear for those of us who are who have not spent a whole lot of time watching the comings and goings of the American League East over the years. This was between Breslow and Devers. This is the Red Sox with their feelings hurt because they didn't communicate with Devers and thinking that they can tell him what to do despite paying him all that money. Not a cancer. I can bet you I could bet you his salary that his teammates had nothing but nice things to say about him. Heck, you should have seen Cedane Rafaela's tweet today. He was heartbroken.
Fair enough. Okay, George and Candy, then we wrap up the show. Go ahead, George.
I have very little to add. I just think it's a shame that they made this trade. I do feel that the fans have been cheated in Boston, as so well put by Eric Katz regarding the players that have left this team in the last several years. Has not been good. I don't know what they're trying to do there. Obviously, the season, I agree, is on the skits right now. I mean, they got 3 to 4 or 5 players, whatever, in this haul that they hope are going to work out, but we'll see what happens. But to throw this guy under the bus and have such a terrible parting of the ways at such a critical part of the season, I think is a huge mistake, and the Red Sox are going to live to regret it.
Candy?
There's reports out there that he asked for a trade back in spring training. So are we really that surprised? Yes, maybe, but Boston doesn't always do things very intelligently. I mean, let's face it. He has 8 plus years and $250 million left on his $313.5 million extension. Most teams aren't interested in paying a DH $30 million a year. Today's game prioritizes flexibility.
All right, all I'm going to add to this is the Boston Red Sox have not been the same since Theo Epstein left, number one. Item number one. Number two, this one bites Boston badly. But you know who ended up looking pretty good when it's all said and done? What about Buster Posey at the Giants? You got this guy for practically nothing. And if you're looking for a way to put separation or make it interesting in the National League, Buster Posey, it's time for all of us to invest into a genius cap, because that's exactly what he looks like. This will not be a good look for the Red Sox. It just will not look good. So, Katie, I know we talk about cancer in the locker room, but the main thing is, and I'll give you credit, okay? Hits his first run with this group here. He does cover sports, and he's been to locker rooms, and he gets credentials. So he knows what it's like to be in the locker room with his network, which he'll have a chance in a moment to promote in a second. But when it comes to an MLB clubhouse, it's just a different animal. It just really, really is. And the way they do things. Anything you want to add to that or debate, Candy? I see some interesting looks headed my way.
Nope.
Okay, so it doesn't look good for Boston. Buster Posey looks like a genius, and the Giants. I wish I would have saw him now instead of a couple of weeks ago. And drivers we trust. So we've covered an awful lot of ground tonight. Candy, what?
Scott, the one thing you just mentioned, I will say something about. It'll be really interesting to see what teams turn into buyers and sellers over the next few weeks coming up to the trade deadline.
Well, don't worry. You'll be back on the show there. I already see a rivalry brewing between you and Eric Katz. So I have a feeling.
No. It's respect. That's
all right. Well, call what you want. Eric feeds. You know what, JD? Eric
that's a different R word.
Well, let me tell you something. Eric feeds off guys like you. He doesn't care. Because
we got to get different R words. We got dirty C words. Now we're going to work on dirty R words.
All right, that's okay. You'll have this won't. Let me tell you, Southern Fried. This won't be your last opportunity. I think you did pretty well. Everybody on this panel, you think you did all right tonight, Southern Fried? Hell is
Boo.
Yeah, Oh, you don't think so? All right, that's all right. We'll put you back at it with Eric Katz.
You came into the ring though. That's a start.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. Eric Katz, I'll tell you what, he flattened Mark Mancini once upon a time on his show. George remembers that show, don't you? I'll tell you, Eric could put up the boxing gloves with anybody. But with all due respect, Southern Fried, your first act here in the baseball show is good. You said you want to be with the big boys. I'll tell you, went on Inside the 50. Now you got 108 inches baseball talk. You hold your own. I'll give you that. Okay, it's all right. But Katzy's one guy who knows more knowledge at his young age of 30 than most people know in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. Just remember that. I know. That's why he's one of our stars here on this network on this particular show. But that said, we're running out of time here, so I don't want to prevent anybody from giving out their intros. Thanks for hanging with us, everybody on the panel. We appreciate it. It's our last show before Candy and I hit the road anyway on our crew. So All right, Southern Fried, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
You can find me on Southern Fried Sports on YouTube at Southern Fried Sports JD. Please make sure to hit me with a subscribe. You can find me on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at JDWyatt06. And make sure to follow all of these fantastic people, George, Candy, Scott, Trent, Eric. Listen, it's been a pleasure. Y'all wore out a couple of my crayons tonight taking notes. And so y'all be blessed, not stressed, and just be kind and respectful. New dirty R word on Southern Fried Sports.
Great stuff. All right, we'll be talking to you. Obviously, he's going to hang around a little bit here today as we discuss his future plans with the network. So, but anyways, Trent, why don't you let everybody know how they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can reach me at Trent@leadershipity.com, leadershipity.com. I am the host of Winners Find a Way. You can check out our podcast on all the major networks, and we're live every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, and starting a new podcast with Winning Ways. And can't wait to throw that out on Spreaker. Getting excited about that show. Just recording some episodes right now with that. And I am the author of Leading Winning Teams. As most people know, long time to coach in professional baseball in 3 World Series and started 14 companies and the mix of sports and business. Check it out, Leading Winning Teams, and how you can win every day.
All right, George, go ahead.
All right. I'm a contributor on the South Florida Tribune website, and under the contributor section, at the end of my column, there's always a link there to my book, which is Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air, chronicling of 80, 90 years of sports broadcasting in the Motor City. And Scott's in the book, and Ernie Harwell, and all these great baseball guys we've had in Detroit, Paul Carey, Frank Beckman, and on and on. Hey, listen, also you can find me at Yahoo at gicorn@yahoo.com, on Twitter or X at SanGSports99. I'm also active on LinkedIn as well under my name. So great show tonight. Good to be part of the series.
And just so you know, George Eichhorn and JD Wyatt are going to be pairing up for a couple episodes of Fire Up the next couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to having those two on that particular show. All right, Eric, go ahead.
You can follow me on my X and Twitter account at Sports Team News, where I tweet about all things baseball. And you can follow me on my blog which is at bellyupsports.com, where I'm writing about all things baseball. And if you think I hate your team, yes, I probably despise your team.
Everybody's got a catchphrase. That's it. And also, I'll let Eric know that he also writes for the Internet Baseball Writers Association of America. He got me involved with the group, and they've really been pretty nice to me. So I appreciate him getting me involved with them. All right, Candy, take us the rest of the way.
So I'm just going to do a follow-up just for everybody's attention. Shohei has pitched to 5 batters, 1 inning so far, 2 hits, 1 run. So 1 earned run on him so far. They have just finished the top of the first. So it is still ongoing and early, but just wanted to get it out there.
Great stuff.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, and the foreword is written by George Eichhorn. Great job, gentlemen. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can find this book, a link to our merchandise store, as well as a plethora of great content. Go check it out. If you see the red subscribe button, hit it like a share us with all your friends and family, and go subscribe to everybody else's YouTube channel that's on here, the panel tonight, or on any of our shows for that matter. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Monday nights we talk baseball, Tuesday nights we talk football, Wednesday nights on Sports Exchange, and Thursday nights on Fire Up. You just never know what you're going to get, so tune in to find out. But we have all kinds of other great shows on the network too, so check them out. If you want to check out the previous show tonight on The Professor and the Pupil, Stephen and Scott not debuted, but they talked about what's coming up on the channel, so definitely go check that out. Find out what's going to be in store the next couple of weeks. Let me think. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com.
Thank you, Candy. Just let programming note, Stephen Reichel will be taking over the next couple of weeks. J.D. Wyatt and George Eichhorn will be the familiar faces that you will see during our absence. So stay tuned. He does plan to do a baseball show next week. I won't know, but we'll be in touch with them all the way around. So George has been my longtime partner in crime. He'll be actually hosting a show or two in my absence, and I have no doubt between Stephen, J.D. Wyatt, and Stephen Reichel that these three are going to do a capable job. The next time you see this group back together, probably about 2 or 3 weeks, we'll keep you posted. So stay tuned for updates on Facebook as well as Twitter and so forth. So meanwhile, great show tonight with this group. I'm glad you all were able to hang in there with us. We had a lot to get to, but we were able to cover all the ground. So J.D. Wyatt, great first act here, and you did a fine job on the football show. And obviously, you're going to be busy while we're gone, so we're counting on some pretty good things of you to compliment Stephen Reichel as well. Trent, well, guess what? Hopefully, I'll catch up with you in Michigan, depending on how the schedules work out. We're going to see if we can get that worked out. You and I will be in touch privately. George, it's certain that we're going to get together when I get back to Michigan, but we have a couple more shows we need to get done this week. Eric, what can I say, man? Keep those rants coming. I love your energy and your knowledge. There ain't anybody better, and anybody that tries to go toe-to-toe with you with baseball, they're in for a bit of a challenge. We know that. That's why you're our star here on this particular show. Candy, you're a star, period. It won't matter what you do. So I'm done for the night. Well, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk returns with a different format next week, and we'll keep you posted. But we'll see you in about 2 or 3 weeks. So with that said, au revoir. I don't even know what it is. Goodbye. But we're going to Iceland. We're going to Norway. We're going to Belgium. We're going to the UK.
Love it.
Any? No, let's see. We got Norway. We got Belgium. Hey. Wait, am I missing any? Hold on a minute.
You start at London, you go to Belgium, you go to Amsterdam, you go to 3 different spots in Norway, and then 3 different spots in Iceland, back to London, and then back home.
Yeah, so let's get the countries. We got Netherlands, we got Belgium, then we have Norway, then we have Iceland, and then we have UK. That's all I have to say. We're done for the night, but we'll keep her rolling. And Stephen Reichel, I know you'll make us proud. This group has made me proud, and I'm proud of every one of you that participated on the show. More importantly, thanks very much to those individuals who participated in the chat room, K-Sys, P-Digits, and the list goes on. Am I forgetting anybody? I hope not, but those are a couple that stand out there. J.D. Wyatt, outstanding job interacting with everybody in the chat room. This guy gets it, people. He really does. So that does it for us tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow night on Inside the Pigskin. Our show there begins at around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.